Hello, this is Mr. Gretzky 9966, just doing a contest entry for Journal Comics. Chris Jerno. His contest he's doing for his 1,500 subscriber contest on YouTube. I'm just gotta answer a few questions here. If you're not subbed up to him, please sub up to him. Sub up to his channel. Sub up to his Instagram. If you have Twitter, sub up to him on Twitter. I don't think I've subbed him up on Twitter, but I subbed him up on Instagram, and I subbed him up on been subbed to him for a long time, and he's been in a couple of the groups I used to be in on Facebook, and we used to talk on Facebook a little bit and everything. So other than that, everything to reiterate that I'm doing this for his contest. I don't know when it ends. I think it ends in May, if I'm not mistaken. So get with it, get to it, and just do the contest. What else you have to lose, you know? You do a video and you win, or you do a video and you lose. You got a 50-50 chance of getting something, you know? So, without further ado, for a great guy, Chris is just such a great guy. I've done a trade with him, sent him some Archie books for his collection and some other stuff. So, no further ado, let's get to the contest here. How do I store my comics? As you can see, not very well. Actually, what is going to happen is all of this crap that's in stacks and all over the damn place will eventually, which is eventually stuff that's over there on the there's going to be boxes on the shelf over there, which I'm actually going to move in. I'm going to leave those there. I'm going to move those into that other room across the hall there. But the drawer box is there, and I'm going to put two more long boxes up there. And everything will go up there. Will house my Archies, my Action Comics, mostly Archies and Action Comics, and Adventures of Superman, and maybe some Fantastic Fours, depending on how many I've got. I'm trying to figure out how many I got. I got 10 drawer boxes right now, and then I've got, I believe, 7 more long boxes that I'm using, and that's where I store some of my books are over there. The bottom two boxes is what I basically store the slabs. I got slabs in there. I've got a couple more of those. I'm going to try to get them out of those and use those for other things. And then, as you can see, I store some slabs up here. Bottom half, Fantastic Fours, Action Comics, Superman, Man of Steel, Dick Tracy, some Archie, some Spider-Man, some Hulk. Somewhere around there was a Hulk book up there, but I don't know. Maybe I took it down. I think I did take it down for the 122 and all that. But that's how I store my stuff. I'm going to end up storing it in that. I store video games in that thing and the green tub over there, because I haven't got around to putting the shelf up yet that I'm going to have. And I'm going to take the Nintendo games out of there, store like the stuff that, like the Sega games, the Super Nintendo. It's going to be Sega, Genesis, and Sega Master System in one bin. The other bin is going to be, for right now, is going to be Super Nintendo. And then the other one's going to be 64 stuff and Dreamcast and 64. And then I'm going to put the Nintendo stuff on the shelf. Eventually, I'm going to have Nintendo on the shelf, because I got way too many to fit in the shelf there. And then the other one's just going to be like cords and stuff in there. But that's basically how I store my stuff right now in a mishmash way, but it's all going to end up being fixed eventually to the point where everything's all together fixed and everything. So just all reorganizing it, getting it moved from one room cleaned up to getting this room cleaned up to doing a few other things. So that's how I store my comics. Also, I'm going to put them by, like, all my Archies are going to be in one box. A couple short boxes might be some newer stuff, independent Archie, like one-shots, mini-series that came out, like, in the last, like, 5 years or so since Archie switched over to Volume 2 and all that. But and then we have number 2 is your favorite character in a movie. Basically, I would have to say in the MCU movies, if you get technical with me, it would be Spider-Man. Would be Tom Holland's Spider-Man would be the character that I love. His character of Spider-Man is basically, I know they're trying to mush him with Miles Morales there in the movies. They're trying to push him with Miles Morales, which just gets me irked. Is like you're trying to mush Peter Parker with Miles Morales because you don't want to bring Miles Morales in. If you just want to bring Miles Morales in, just bring him in and introduce him and be done with it. But, you know, they did that with the Spider-Verse, and I didn't watch it. Not going to watch it. Never was a fan of Miles Morales. Ever. Ever in my wildest dreams would I ever be a fan of Miles Morales. I'm a Peter Parker guy. Born and raised a Peter Parker guy, and I will always be a Peter Parker guy. As long as Peter Parker is alive and not dead and not in some other buddy, not sitting in Doc Ock's body in Superior Spider-Man, which was a god-awful series, in my opinion, was awful and was written by the awful writer Dan Slott that just wasn't good. Spider-Man was going downhill, and I think they wanted to change up some stuff, and Marvel's just hasn't been great since they ended 700 back in 2013 and it's end of 2012 when they ended Amazing Spider-Man, and then eventually cut out the Fantastic Four. I was done with them after that. After they cut the Fantastic Four out in 15, I was done with them for buying comics, but that's another story for another day. We'll get back to the thing. What was the first series or first series / age you were at? I don't have the book handy right now. Wish I would have got the book out, but that got you started in. The book that got me started in a wanting to collect, wanting to keep the books, wanting to be a DC fan was one book in particular was Justice League America 69. That was the book that got me into collecting more than just, you buy a comic here, you buy a comic there. 1992, December of 92, part of the Death of Superman run, right before they killed off Superman. It was basically the Doomsday fight before Doomsday showed up kind of deal. And that was the book that got me into doing what I believe that took my interest from just, I'm a casual reader, I just pick up a book here or there kind of deal. For the last 2 years, I've been picking up Marvel mostly. I like the cartoons. I like the comic. I like the cartoons. I like some of the animated movies type stuff in the early animated TV shows. The Hulk TV show. I like that. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, here comes this book. I read it. I pick it up. I'm like, what's this Justice League book? 69. And I pick it up. And I'm hearing about they're talking about killing off Superman, and I'm like, wait a minute, they're gonna kill Superman? it just blew my mind that they're going to kill Superman. And I picked up that book from the store. I just happened to be in a grocery store picking it up, and that was when I basically picked that up, read it, and said, I got to go to a comic book shop. I got to find a shop. And then I realized there's a comic book shop right down the street, downtown St. Charles, Graham Cracker Comics, right there in St. Charles. I didn't know that they existed. I didn't know a comic book shop existed. And so you go through life saying, what is comics? What is comics? What do comic books bring? And I realized that, and I think in 92, the age I was at was probably not quite 13, maybe 13, 12, I think at the time. No, I was older than that. 12, 13, 14, probably 14, and yeah, because I was born in 78. Yeah, I was about 14. I was 14 in December, but I started buying comics, which I didn't stick to comic buying as often as I did. It was a lot of sports cards, hockey cards, model trains, some other stuff I bought, some other stuff I collected, over the years, computer games, video games, stuff like that. That all took away from me getting into comics, to strictly buying comics. So when you collect for 16, when you go from being a 2-year guy, 90 to 92, you're like, you're not buying a whole lot of comics. And all of a sudden, by the end of 92, you're a guy who's like, gotta pick this Death of Superman up. You go down there, you buy it, you pick it up, you pick up a few copies here and there, you pick up 2 copies of each. You think, this is going to be worth a lot. You pick up those die cut covers. That's why I picked up a bunch of die cuts. I picked up the 5 Adventures of Superman 500. One I opened, one I didn't. I picked up Death of Superman. I picked up all those little ansonances. All that stuff around that time frame. The Batman, Broken Bat Syndrome the next year. In 94, I picked up some of that stuff. I didn't pick all that up. I picked up a bunch of that stuff. I just wasn't really into Batman as much as I am now. But back then, I was into other stuff, and just other stuff just took over and ran with it. Then number 4 would be favorite superhero. Number 5, I'll do number 5 first. Favorite super villain. This is my favorite super villain of all time. It is the Trickster. And the Trickster, reason behind that is the 1990 Flash TV show comes on, and I'm like hooked. That's what hooked me into buying comic books. Before that, I never bought comic books before. I didn't buy comic books before the Flash TV show. And as soon as the Flash TV show came on, like I said before, I was into comic. I was into the cartoons. I was into anything that had to do with Spider-Man related stuff, little storybooks, stuff that was on the Electric Company, all that stuff. That character, done by the one and only Mark Hamill, turned me into a person to want to know more about comics. Then that 92, that issue 69 of Justice League America, that turned me into a collector. That made me want to keep the books and collect them. Before, I'd buy them and I'd get rid of them. I'd buy them for a few months, give them to somebody, give them to the neighbor kid, whatnot, So I would probably have had over 1,000 comics by the time I got around to it. But, you give them away. You don't buy as many. You don't buy every month. Blah, blah, blah. One thing leads to another. And that's how it goes. That is my favorite super villain. Now, my favorite superhero, there's basically, if you consider now, I would have to go with, let me just pull this up here. This issue here for right now. Spider-Man. Spider-Man is probably one of my favorite superheroes from Marvel. It was between that and the Hulk. The Hulk was my favorite back in the day. I don't have a Hulk book laying around. But both of those were my two favorites back in the day. Was Spider-Man, the Hulk, and DC. Everybody thinks, oh, you collect a lot of Action Comics. Superman. Not really a fan of the new Superman stuff now, but I was a fan of the older stuff because I got into the older stuff years later. But that's beyond the point now. But to tell you, my favorite superheroes were probably the Hulk and probably Spider-Man growing up, and then the Super Friends show. That's pretty much were my favorites growing up as a little kid into my teenage years when I got into comics. When I was about 14, I got into comics in about 7th grade. Right? I was in 8th grade. I was in 8th grade at the time because I graduated in 93. So, yeah, I was right in 8th grade. I just started 8th grade when I got into comics. So, most people, don't do that. But favorite universe. All you probably would know what my favorite universe is. Like, out of everything that I collect or ever were in, universes, like some people would say, oh, you're a Star Wars fan. Yes, I like Star Wars. But I am really into the Archie universe. The old Archie universe. Not the Riverdale stuff on the TV that you have today. I can't get past that first couple episodes. But don't get me started on that. But Archie was probably one of my favorite was probably one of my favorite universes probably of all time. Today is probably one of my favorites now. As a kid, I used to watch, used to get into the He-Man universe. He-Man, Star Wars a little bit, dabbled a little bit. I was a big Star Wars guy, but not as big as some people. But I was a moderate guy in Star Wars and He-Man. Had a few Transformers, but I couldn't get into those universes. G.I. Joe, I was really big into G.I. Joe universe as a kid. But probably, I'd say in the last 15, I would say, since I got back in the comics 10 years ago, I'd probably say I've always been a big Archie guy. Always been a fan of Archie. The cartoons, the different cartoons that come on, I would watch those. I was really into those kinds of things. But the Archie universe, I'd have to say, is probably my favorite universe. Out of all the universes out there, I never could get into Star Trek. Used to be Star Wars, but it was like if I was fighting between Star Wars and G.I. Joe and He-Man. But I would say probably the one that I've stuck with the most and have fallen in love with is the Archie universe. So that would be my favorite Archie universe. Favorite MCU movie. If it's over here, let me see if I have it. Maybe I don't know. It's Jay and Silent Bob. Wrong movie. Not Ant-Man and the Wasp. That's my wife's. It's Ant-Man. Not Endgame. Off the window makes sense. Okay, I don't have the movie, but I thought I did. No, video game. No, I think I don't have it, but I would probably have to say MCU movie if they count it as an MCU movie, which I believe they do, is the last one, the first one, Far From Home, Spider-Man Homecoming. That's what it was called. The Spider-Man Homecoming movie. That was probably that and Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier was probably my favorite of all time, and then followed by Far From the Home and Far From Home. So I'd say probably, I'm really not every MCU movie is great, but my least favorite is that Captain Marvel. Cannot stand that Captain Marvel movie. She is terrible in it. She's awful. The actress is just blah. Can't stand her as an actress. Can't stand her at all. Captain Marvel is probably the worst movie. I would have to say, in my opinion, is the least favorite of them all. I think that Black Widow movie, if I ever see it, would probably fall in there because I have no interest in that movie whatsoever in Black Widow. So that would be something I'm not interested in, and I'm not interested in seeing Captain Marvel 2. I may own it because I want all the movies in the series, but I would say I wouldn't want that one. And then that's my least favorite. But my two favorites will always be those two. And if anybody tries to throw in the Ang Lee movie, I know that one doesn't have anything to do. They don't consider that part of the MCU. But that Ang Lee movie, if you had to pick a superhero movie outside of the MCU that was a Marvel movie, the Ang Lee movie still is the god awful worst of them all. And he owes everybody a refund who saw that movie and who did not like it. If you liked it, then you don't deserve a refund. And all that. But to sub up 3 YouTubers, probably I have to shout out my buddy, the board cyborg. It's TheBored cyborg. And it's all one word, the board cyborg. And all you gotta do is he does a lot of video game hauls, thrifting, where he goes thrifting. He does movies, he does movie reviews, he does movie retrospectors on movie series, game series, shows off collection stuff that he has, stuff in his collection. He's got tons and tons and tons of movies, tons and tons of video games, stuff that he just has, and he's probably about 10 years younger than I am. So he's, got a vast knowledge of movies and stuff that he's really into. And he's really into horror movies. So if you're a big horror fan, you want to check him out and go sub him up. He's trying to get to 1,000 subs. I don't remember where he's at now. If he's somewhere between 6 and 800, somewhere around there. So go sub him up. You won't be disappointed. Sometimes he does some scripted stuff. Sometimes he just does the video and will edit it out, but it's not scripted out per se. Like Angry Video Game Nerd is scripted out and stuff. He'll just do stuff off the cuff. Sometimes he likes to talk a lot like I do. I'm already at 24 minutes, but I'll get to the other point is sub him up. He's a real great guy. He lives close by to me and everything. He's one of the guys that I'd say sub up. Then there's Prowler 71, I think is his YouTube name. Look it up. You'll find him on there. Great guy. Met him at a con last year. Awesome dude. Lives nearby me. One time I told him we would probably try to get all the North Carolina guys together and do a video of some sort and everything. And just do a video in general and do a live thing together if everybody can get on there live, or if they're in the comment section, try to get a bunch of us North Carolina people together. And then there's who else would I would say? I'd probably throw up there and then probably look up Brant Fowler on there. He's got a YouTube channel. Brent Fowler does. Look him up. It's on BRENT Fowler. So just look him up. He runs with Lisa Moore. They run Last Ember Press Comics. I don't know if they actually have a YouTube channel for Last Ember Press, but I know you can find them at can't remember their stupid channel. Their stupid channel name now. Just throws me off. But whatever. You look them up. You'll find them. You'll find Dark Avenger, Chris, Dark Avenger Inc. What used to be Dark Avengers Inc. I think they're just Dark Avengers now. Dark Avenger CA or something like that. They're part of Last Ember Press with his comic book that he's doing and all their stuff that they're doing with Little Ember and different things that they've done with Ember, Little Ember, you name it. They've published a few comics out there. They are on the same in the same group with forget the guy's name. Mike Spider Slayer is part of their group, and what's her face? Cat. Forgot her name. Forgot her channel name right off the bat. But you find them, you see them out there. They're out there doing live shows every Tuesday. They do their live show and everything. So sub them up, sub these people up and everything. See if Last Ember, I forgot if he has one for Last Ember Press, if they have a YouTube channel. And that I know they have a website that you can probably order books from and go look at their stuff and everything. So other than that, everything's great. Chris, congratulations on 1,500. Hope everything goes well for another 1,500. So you get to 3,000. Let's get you to 3,000. Let's get you to 2,000, then 3,000. Because we need to get you out there. Oh, yeah, and another guy to sub up. If you haven't subbed him up, you need to sub him up. One of the original comic book community members, Holler Mouse, sub him up. Tim Mullins, sub the man up. The man is great. The man is awesome. The man knows his stuff. He can talk comic books with you all day long. He does a show right now with Jared Osborne. Sub him up. I know I'm giving you way too many people to sub up, but sub them up. Sub them all up. They're all great. The stories that he gives you, Jared gives you. He used to work for Marvel back in the 90s, 2000s. He worked for Marvel in the bullpen, putting books together and stuff before they'd go to press. They would put the books together and everything and whatever else he did there. And that, so, without further ado, thank you, Chris. Thank you for the great contest. We'll talk to you later. Bye.